who is so cool to go over and have her with us because she gives a interestingly fun perspective and keeps us in reality. Also,
reels us in.
Reels us in. If Lily's not here, Steph's here. It's like, yeah, okay, that's it. Bring it on back. All right. Also with us, Mr. Dean Schmidt of Basecamp Meta Search Marketing, and pretty much probably our lead conversationalist today. I'm hoping Adele will get the chance to show up today as well, because we kind of threw out there today 2 topics that seem to be like, wow, interesting week this week. Google, of course, with their meta search announcement, and Tripadvisor, of course, with their rollout of theirs, which we'll get to as we go along with the dialogue. But really, I would like to, and Steph and I both agree, is like, let's defer to the person this is in their wheelhouse. Mr. Dean Schmidt, bring us home, baby. Let's tell us what's going on with what the heck is Google doing?
Bring it home. Well, first, let's just talk about the week in general, right? And how this all played out for a second. On Monday, we get the TripAdvisor Plus rollout and all the announcements surrounding that and a whole bunch of buzz surrounding that. Everybody's excited. Then on Tuesday, here comes Google. And we all just about forgot about TripAdvisor. And then on Wednesday, coming in the wings of everything, here came Kayak buying a hotel in Miami. So, everybody kind of got their punches in a little bit this week, but yeah, Google, yeah, definitely the biggest of the bunch. And, so when we set that on and asked that question, gosh, where to even start with it? Because there are so many things to cover. So let's go ahead and start with Google there for a minute. The first thing I want to do is a little bit of myth busting. We've got to dispel one of the major headlines that was out there. In fact, I'm looking at it on, I can share the link here real quick, actually. Let me put this link into the chat window.
Was it your article one that you shared? Is that the one you're going to put in?
No. This is one that I'm telling you that the headline is outright wrong.
Good. Nothing like a bad start.
So the headline on this says, Google eliminates fees for hotel booking leaks. That is plain and simply not true. Okay. The whole paid area of Google Meta is still there. What they have done is they have added an organic meta results section. Okay. Now that organic section does not show up right away. In fact, you know what? Is it possible for me to share a screen on here?
Absolutely. Go to the upper left-hand corner, hit the plus sign, drop down, say hit share screen, and you are in business.
Some things are easier to show than tell. Okay, show entire screen, share this bad boy, and
ta-da.
Okay, you should see my screen now, hopefully.
Okay, see, yes.
Okay, so what does this mean to hoteliers? And we need to think about a couple of things. And first of all, I'm focusing on the right-hand side of the screen over here where we see the Google My Business page, and this is where your meta lives, okay? Now, first of all, what you're going to notice is we have this top section with about our top 4. Now, this number varies. I've seen some of these being top 3, top 5, somewhere in between. You don't see anything more than that until you click on View More Rates. Everything you see right now is still a paid result for MetaSearch. None of these are free, okay? I don't see the free ones until I click on pay the more rates here. And now what I see is I've got those same paid listings that we see on top. I scroll down a little bit, and now I've got the free organic listings. Okay, so what does this mean for you? Well, the first thing it means is that you've got 2 points of sale. Okay, that's good. The second thing it means is so does everybody else. In fact, so do a large number of other channels that may not have been there otherwise. Right? So everybody gets a little bit of real estate that they can plug in there. So if I am a branded hotel, and I'm showing this example, but really anybody that's running an active MetaSearch campaign on Google, you automatically, whether you know it or not, you've already got a secondary point of sale coming up in the organic listings. At least if your provider's doing their job, you should. But I would pose to you the question, have you adapted your deep link URLs to account for that? And let me show you some examples here real quick. I did a little bit of homework before the call today just to pull up some examples, and the names have been removed to protect the innocent. So this is an example. The top 2 that you see here are for the same hotel. The top one is an organic deep link URL coming off of their MetaSearch listing, okay? You notice I've changed the hotel name to myhotel.com and so on. right? The IATA number there is a generic IATA number. I've changed all that, so this is relatively sterile. But if you look at the two of these, both of them say that it came from a Google hotel price ad. Both of them have the same IATA number. All of the data is the same in between these. What that means is this hotel cannot tell if that click came from a paid result or a free organic result. And if you are paying a cost per click on it, that's a problem. If you're paying a commission on it, that's an even bigger problem. So you've got to make sure that you've gone in there and adjusted for this. And by the way, Google so Google in their analytics will know the difference. That's the good news. But if you're using a back-end tool, let's say such as DoubleClick or anything else like that, Adobe Analytics and so on, your internal data may not be reflective of this. All right. And by the way, this comes from a major hotel chain. I won't tell you which one, but it's one that should have known better. and that's something you have to look at. Now, just in case, I thought, you know what, maybe it was doing that because I was cached. Yep. Okay. So
hey, Dean, I have a question though. So like if you, I know like where my paid links come from and like how I would update that, but where is Google pulling the organic stuff from? Because you don't have as much control over which organic listings they show, right? So
right.
What's the
you have no control over which organic links they show. So what that amounts to, if you have rates and availability going to Google, and even if you have shut off your paid campaign, maybe your budget ran out, whatever the case may be, you're still going to show up on the organic links. So if they are getting rates and availability from you, you're automatically coming up in there.
But where are they getting it from? I mean, that's not a link you would update in like Google My Business, because the website, I know in Google My Business, you can update the website link, but where are you updating the organic? Where is it pulling from?
The availability? Is that what you're asking about?
Well, isn't it just a booking link? I'm sorry, I'm jumping in on the same question. Isn't it just a booking link?
Yeah, so here I'm talking about booking links. I think Stephanie's asking about the rates and availability, though.
No, like the organic booking link. How do you, where do you change that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to do that, and that's going to depend a little bit upon how you're running your campaign. Okay, so so I'm trying to do this without naming names out there, but so your meta campaign provider is the first source that I would go to with that. There's usually a link center that's involved with that they should be updating those deep link URLs in. So just like you're updating your deep link URLs for any marketing campaign that you do out there's some point of entry that you're using for that. So if you're running a campaign through a Cody, a Derbysoft, and so on, contact your vendor and they can help you with that. Many of the vendors, in fact, I'm going to compliment one here now, have already done this for you. So here's an example from a TravelClick one. They actually updated their deep link URL. They've got one that says this came from a campaign and one that says this was organic. That's the way that you do it. And by the way, that's not the only way to do it, but that's one way of doing it. You could use different pseudo IATA numbers. One pseudo IATA number is commissionable, one of them is not, right? So that's one way of doing it. You could use a corporate ID structure. Your CID equals campaign, CID equals organic, right? So there's a number of ways of doing that. But your intermediary that's helping with your meta search campaigns is the one that should be able to help you program that and build that all in there.
Okay, so a hotel that doesn't, if they only want to run organic, hypothetically, or really want to control organic because they don't have any money for paid, they still have to work with a third party, basically.
Great question. So a couple of things that you've got to do, and so I'm going to do a shameless plug here. By the way, this is what I do. So a small property that doesn't have a budget for a meta campaign, maybe I even have some properties out there that don't even have a website. You're a property that's deflagging and you're between flags and you haven't started the other one yet, so you don't have your own website. Guess what? I can get you up there on Meta. But so what you have to do there, it's nice that it's free. That means you don't have to manage a campaign. That's the good news. The bad news is you still have to get rates and availability Google, and you still have to have a way of booking that reservation. So booking that reservation can be done in a couple of ways. Yes, we could pass it off to your website, assuming that you've got a booking engine that can facilitate that. Another way is you could do book on Google and you let Google facilitate that, but you still have to get the guest data transferred to you at the hotel. And they don't just do that by email, right? There has to be a PCI certified transmission of that data so they protect that information.
Dean, just so you know, you didn't quite replace all the My Hotels, just saying. Would you recommend that we change the source coding to reflect the organic placement of this? Or do you feel we should, how do you feel is the best way for us to internally identify? Where are those people that are going to come to and go, hey, I've been told that we got to change this. Where do you feel is best? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I like the way that TravelClick did this here. I'll give them credit for that where credit is due. I work a lot with the team from Mirai. They've done a great job with this. Those are the only two where I've actually seen examples from. I'm confident that the teams at Cody and Derbysoft would have been on top of this as well because they know what they're doing. I'm not saying that anybody else hasn't. I'm saying I just can't speak for them.
Oh, I will. I'll say everybody else hasn't.
Yeah, okay.
I think Stephanie's going to walk into brand conversations going, mic drop, boom.
Well, I literally just emailed my Cody contact because I'm curious of what their take is. So.
And again, this is so important because even if you're running, obviously, if you're running a commission campaign, you don't want to pay commission on those free links, right? But even if you're running a cost per click, you want to be able to look at and identify what part of my traffic came from my paid results, what part of my traffic came from my organic results. You would do the same thing with your SEM and SEO, right? You want to know what the difference, you want to track those differently and optimize them differently. Let's say, for example, you're getting great results from your organic listings, which, by the way, you're probably not. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But let's say that you are. Maybe I don't need to pay as much. And one thing that I did find when I looked at the organic listings, I pulled up a lot of different hotels and looked at this, is it did seem that they were favoring the brand.com listing over the OTAs in here. You'll see in this example, that's in spite of the fact that brand.com has a higher rate, the rate parity. That's another conversation. But part of that has to do with the fact that Google is looking at a couple of different factors to determine this ranking order. It's no longer CPC. These are free, but they are looking at what they call a quality score. And so they're asking, okay, once the consumer clicks on this link, what is the consumer presented with? And in the case of an individual hotel, you're going directly to that individual hotel. Your dates are filled in. You've got that exact room type for that exact property. It's a very streamlined process. In the event that you're talking about an OTA, you're going to the OTA's landing page, which features that property, but now also shows here's 5 other hotels in that same market that you could be booking at, right? And so because of that, their quality score is a little bit lower when it comes to that link through. So I'm purely conjecture here. So I'm using some logical reasoning to say I think that's why brands are getting favored on that right now. Again, this is all about Google's secret sauce, and so nobody knows exactly if that's the truth, but it would make sense that it would carry out that way.
Is that Anatole listing, is it going to their website? They don't only use the Hilton brand website, or they have their own? I mean, I don't think they have their own separate booking engine, right? So
right, yeah, it's not a vanity site. These are both going to the brand.com.
it is going to brand.com.
Yeah.
So it is actually showing multiple hotels too.
No, it's going to that hotel's brand.com.
Right.
So from here, let's click on it. I probably just cost them $1.50.
Oh my God, I can't believe you did that.
Oops.
So see, I click on that, I get here, and now I am at that hotel,
Right.
selecting my room.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. I got the first impression with this, and thank you for the article. For those who don't know, that Dean posted a really excellent article on LinkedIn as well. If you need to follow Dean Schmidt on LinkedIn, by all means, please do, because the article he posted was exceptionally good as well.
I just posted it.
Thank you. It seems like Google is turning into an inverted mirror of OTAs. Here's our paid section. Here's our organic section. Because the OTAs did the same thing. Here's our listings, and if you want to, you can pay to be on top of the pile. And so now it looks like Google's doing the same thing. Do you feel this is a link in the chain of that, or it looks like they're now on to the next step of evil Google plans to take over the universe? We're going to find a more functional value. Dean, you loading another screen?
Yeah, I am. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Good.
I thought I lost the screen for a second. So, that are they putting a link in the chain, or are they now saying we are going to become that, and it's only adding to more confusion or more steps in the process if you go to these other sites, because they're going to be doing the same thing we're already doing for you?
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is the next stage in Google's evolution of their digital marketing for hotels, right? So when we think about digital marketing, let's take the hotels part out of the equation for a minute. When we think about digital marketing, we talk about our branded search terms, our non-branded search terms, the search engine results page, or SERP. And when somebody does a search, they come up with a certain set of criteria. Well, now what you see happening with Google is that when I do that search term, let's say hotels in Denver or New York or whatever it might be, I'm getting my initial results, which they refer to as the Google 4-pack, such as what you see up here. And then I've got this little button down here that says view 201 hotels. Once I expand that, now look what I'm getting. Now I've got that market. Now I've gone into Google's immersive travel page, and look what I'm seeing again. I've got an ad right here on top. That's a non-branded search term. I was looking for hotels in Daytona because, it's spring break and all. And right there, you've got an ad coming up on top. And then you get the more organic results that come up below that. And of course, there's a whole set of criteria that determines that ranking order as well. A lot of that's based on, did people like this property? A lot of that's based on, what did Dean look at before? Because they know your history. They know what type of hotel. They may even feature the hotel you looked at before. They're really just trying to put up the property that Dean is most likely to click on.
Sounds a little Tripadvisor-esque as well.
Very much.
I also watched a podcast recently where somebody explained that the reviews are also being factored into this search on Google. They're weighing that more now than they used to in the past.
That is absolutely right. Yeah. If you've talked to people about TripAdvisor's popularity ranking, take that same criteria that you talk about for that and just put it into Google. It's pretty much the same. Again, none of them will tell you their secret sauce, but we know that the reviews and the ratings from them, how many reviews you have had. Do you have recent reviews? Because if nobody's reviewed you for 3 weeks, that now loses some credibility, right? And just generally, how many times has somebody looked for your property? Are they searching for you? And that's why that brand new kayak hotel in Miami, as it opens up come April, coming out the gate, it's going to get a whole lot of a boost in ranking just because it is popular. It doesn't have a ton of reviews yet. It doesn't have any of that stuff, but right now it is popular, right? And so Google's doing the same thing.
It's been a couple of years. I mean, now that it's been, but they said that the reviews hold a 17% ranking factor in MapPack. So I kind of carry that around because that's a fairly huge statistic. And I know it comes into play in different places here, but it's kind of a big deal.
And
17% in what, Stephanie?
Your ranking factor in the MapPack.
MapPack. I just don't know that term, MapPack.
I like that term.
I know everyone calls it something different. But, like the 3 listings with the pictures and the.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, in the discussion we had on Clubhouse, I think it was yesterday. Steph, you're in our audience. You can remind me if it isn't. The other Steph, sorry. There was somebody that was on the conversation that talked about the proposition that there was a person that does review management, which Adele, we missed you because we had like 3 other experts on our call about review management and you weren't on our Clubhouse. But he did refer to the fact that frequency gets diminished after the short interim and that it goes to less and then none have an influence to it, which is where the explanation of why is it I have 4,000 reviews, they have 400, yet they're showing up better than me, blah, 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 whatever it is. So they were talking about the diminished value of frequency, or not frequency, but numerics. Frequency, however, is still a high influencer as to the credibility factor associated with the ranking profile. Really, it was a fun conversation, and we did miss you, Adele, in that conversation. I'm telling you right now. I referred to you several times. Stephanie, you can back me up on this. Yes.
Adele was here. Clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
Well, I only got my new iPhone Pro 12 the other day, so I'm really just trying to catch on.
Yeah.
I haven't figured it all out.
Hey,
go ahead, sir.
I'll say one other thing, and actually I'm going to share my screen one more time here because there's one other thing I wanted to touch on real quick with that Google topic. So I've talked a lot about what the brands are doing, making sure your links are updated and so on, and that's all great. But really, when it comes down to it, all that's happening here is you're getting duplicate listings of everything, right? In fact, if anything, it's almost polluting the pool here a little bit. You've just got so many to choose from, and paradox of choice starts becoming an issue. By way of comparison, this is where I think there's the real opportunity when we're talking about Google's free organic meta. And that is if I take a hotel like this one that you see on this screen, where right now as it stands, they don't have any booking links. This is a small property. They're not distributing to the OTAs and so on. Guess what? If you can get rates and availability connected, if you have a way to process those bookings, you can now get a point of sale in here and you're not competing with anyone. So that free organic listing that we just talked about, you're there. There you go. And so that's a huge opportunity for those small hotels, bed and breakfasts, little lodges, cabins, whatever the case may be. They won't let you do with an RV resort. You do have to have a Google My Business page. But otherwise, that is a huge opportunity.
Leave it here. Oh,
Sorry.
Can you bring it back real quick? I really want to point out something that's totally, well, not totally unrelated, but kind of unrelated. Just if you can pull that exact screen up again.
Yep.
I have a question while you're doing that.
Yep.
Would you recommend this for would this even make sense for people that do in their houses on Airbnb or VRBO or something?
You're probably going to have difficulty doing that because, again, you do have to have a Google My Business link or Google My Business page. If you do have a Google My Business page, then the answer is yes. But what you run into is, let's say that you're a vacation rental and you are one unit inside a building that has actually 50 different apartments in it, and you're just one of those. The Google My Business page belongs to the building, not to you. So unfortunately, that's hard to do. I really would love to see them do this with RV resorts, luxury RV resorts. I think it would be a huge win. The problem there is that Google does specifically say that you have to have a permanent structure with built-in plumbing, and you have to have a front desk. There's a dedicated front desk as well.
Okay.
So they've ruled out RV resorts for whatever reason. I don't know why, but there's still a lot of opportunity.
If you can get that tested out of the way in the middle for a second, I want to ask about two different things that make an interesting point. So you have, if you look at the actual listing under its domain, okay, which is right there in the middle there, anchormotelsandssuites.com, you read their description. And as accurate as it is unrelatable to me because right now I'm not at the point of knowing all those things. I'm interested in going to PEI, excuse me. But I'm not interested yet into exactly knowing the details. What's the big difference if I'm at the exit of the Confederation Bridge? Don't know. If you look at Booking.com, it's a little bit more related to at the level of my journey of discovery. It's telling me a little bit more about the excitement of why this would be a consideration for me, and not so much about the mechanics of its physicality. Do you know what I mean? It just struck me when I was looking at this while you had up on the screen that the Booking.com was a lot more intriguing of content than the website's content, which was, I'm sure, highly accurate, but not as incentivizing as to my interest in knowing that that's what I would like to click on versus I much rather look at Booking.com's listing of this hotel because I think it sounds like there's more information I can learn from it. Plus also your answer boxes are right below it as well. You can continue on. It just struck me as funny. Sorry, I know it's not related to our Google discussion, but it's one of those, that's just interesting, that comparison, you know?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that comes from, and you do see that frequently with small properties who, they may have built their web. And I'm not saying this property did, by the way. I'm not trying to pick on this property by any means. Please don't.
No, it just happened to come up.
Somebody that had their cousin who just got out of college built a website for them. It's a small property, right? They don't have a huge budget versus Booking.com, who's got a team of people that this is what they do. Yeah.
Right. Well, I found a listing in one hotel in Nova Scotia, actually, because I pick on Canada today, I guess, where it was like, and we have 5 rooms built by Uncle John's wood from his barn. Okay. There I am. That's what I wanted to know, and I'm sure it's important, but I didn't know it was that important. But okay. So we'll go back to screen sharing so we can see each other's happy talking faces. All right.
I was wondering, do you have any idea how many of the people who are searching for a hotel and that first block comes up, how many actually click on the see all?
Not very many.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like nobody's going to click on more rates. If you're already getting 4 choices, people, if they get too many choices, they're like, ugh, and their eyes roll back in the back of their head. If you give somebody 20 choices, they're like, give me 3, give me 4, and I'll pick one of those.
You're absolutely right. Actually, there's a great book out there called Paradox of Choice.
Yeah.
Author Barry Schwartz. If you have an opportunity, read it, or at least look at his TED Talks video. It's a great video. But you're absolutely right. And so this program, by the way, has been in beta now for a little over a year. So technically, this isn't, well, not technically, this isn't something Google just came up with this week. And a company that I work with, Mirai, has been actually running some tests on it. When I launched my Google Meta for Small Hotels program last fall, I was originally going to go this route. And the reason I didn't is because it became a little bit impractical if you had OTAs that had point of sale listings in there because of that exact reason. You'd end up being down there on the extended listings. Now, having said that, and this is what I wanted to circle back from earlier, Mirai does have some data from it. And there's an article, which I apologize, I should get the link for that. I'll dig for it while we're talking. But there's an article they did publish this week, and their statistics show that about 3% of the views get to that page.
Wow. That's really little. But, you know, on Google, maybe it's still enough people to fill your hotel if you have a little hotel.
Well,
Yeah, if you are the only one
there's-
coming up, then you get all of that.
Well, and I think like, and when you talk about like shifting from, you know, OTAs, like you got to chip away at it. So every little bit probably helps. There's never one like magic bullet where you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna reduce my OTA margins by 10%, and you know, I'm gonna do this one thing. It's like this little thing and this little thing and this little thing. So I guess it adds up.
So let me ask, and that's a great lead-in step to what I was going to ask Dean. How are we as marketers going to approach using, not using because it's not really an option for us in some ways. We're there because we're there. But how should we perceive this in combination to all the else that we're doing right now? You know, how much should I look at? Should I be monitoring? Should I code differently immediately? Okay, to know what I'm getting from the organic versus the paid meta search, obviously.
Yep.
But then from there, how should I begin to weigh that traffic in comparison to, say, my OTA traffic, which has, for lack of a better word, organic value, because you're listed for being listed, whether you're paying for it or not, you're listed, versus the paid OTA, versus your meta search paid Google, versus your now organic meta search Google. How should I begin to balance the perspective of their contributions in your perspective?
Yeah, so the first thing to remember is some good news. If you are running meta search campaigns, a little bit of good news here. You run out of budget, guess what? You don't completely go into the dark. So that means you've got something that is still there and still coming up, and it looks like your brand.com gets preference on that organic listings. Okay, so that's your good news. Your bad news, and what you need to be aware of now, is now that we've opened this up where everybody can get those free listings, remember all the problems we've had with wholesalers undercutting our rate parity? Guess where? So historically, you know where I've seen some of the more oddball ones of those? They've been on sites like Trivago, or I'll pick on HipMonk. HipMonk is no longer a thing. HipMonk used to have a really cheap cost per click. And so you'd see these OTAs coming up on there that you have never heard of before. And you're like, where in the world did that come from? All right. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to become the wild, wild west of Joe's Garage OTA that's going to populate a dump off inventory from a bed bank into your meta organic listings there because it doesn't cost them anything.
Right.
I know I'm looking at two right now. Maybe I've never heard of Booketta and Bookity.
Boogity!
You're like giggity,
That's
giggity,
Wild Wild West. That's what it
giggity,
sounds like.
I could get into that one. I want to hang with those people. What do you work at? I work at Bookity.
Yeah. It's really sad, though. I don't know why they show things like that, because sometimes somebody will say, and we always had at my hotels, obviously the best rate guarantee. We always actually offered a package that was not distributed anywhere. So we always had something that was more enticing that they could get anywhere else. And yet, even when we were completely sold out, somehow one of these places would manage to, or more, would manage to put up that we had availability and that we had it at a rate that was unreasonable, that would not happen in our hotel anyway. And we would tell, and we would, you know, how come you can't book me? I see that you have availability. I said, trust me, we don't know that company. We don't have any availability. They don't have an agreement with me, and they don't have it. If you book it, you're going to be sad later because they're going to tell you, oops, my bad, we don't have it. and you paid and you prepaid them. And sometimes many times we were able to persuade people to understand what was going on, but sometimes people really get burned, and then they have a hard time even just getting the money back. And sometimes they don't even promise to get you the room. We'll come back to you in a couple of days after we've been able to confirm the room. You know what I mean? Have you
And
seen
you know
that?
what? We all fall victim to this. Okay, everybody on this call, I'd like to say, I think we're all industry experts. We've traveled a little bit. We've booked our own rooms and reservations. And I tell you what, one of my industry colleagues, who I know, love, and respect, she knows what she's doing. She's in there, right? But one time she booked a room on a website. It was reservations.com, in case anybody's curious. And she saw, oh my gosh, what a cheap rate. And she went after it and she booked it, and then was dismayed at the number of booking fees that got tacked on top of it. By the time she was done, she paid way more than what she would have been anywhere else.
Yeah. I actually did a podcast last week about this, about what happens when there's no internet police. And I was talking about ghost kitchens from our discussion from the live show, where people were assuming names of themselves and selling food. Where when if they're the New York Pizza Company, they're next to they're the Brooklyn Pizza Company, but really it's a ghost kitchen that's just selling to each market for delivery service. And I pointed out that when I took that thought and went into people bidding on dormant keywords of hotels that aren't watching themselves anymore, there was a lot of players out there that were literally hijacking brand terms related specifically by name of the hotel and whatever, and garnering the business of saying, if you're looking for the XYZ hotel, we're the ABC hotel, or worse yet, we're an affiliate like Book It, that goes over and selling something that probably can't get fulfilled. And that's happening probably, and will expound to happen even more with this, because we haven't had somebody sitting in the chair for a lot of those hotels. A lot of hotels under furlough let go the people that were minding the walls. It's like those TV shows, if man disappeared, what would happen to our cities? And then they show the growth. That's kind of what's happening to our online presence right now. Is there's a lot of other of things that are overtaking what we used to fight to keep in persistence is gone. And so when these hotels start coming back into market or start reviving their marketing strategies beyond life support, they're going to find out that the landscape, there's a lot of poachers and pirates and scurvy dogs and buckets out there that are really selling them. I just love did like that name. Bookity Whippy, that are out there that are pushing product that, they're going to have to reclaim their territory, so to speak. They're going to have to clean the hedges back up again and make sure that they have that yard back to snuff. But yeah, that's just.
Yeah. I had a situation recently where I was on Tripadvisor. I was making a hotel reservation, and they had a special offer, like Tripadvisor offers. You can put in your little special offer, and it says best rate guarantee or something, and it pops up and it says, if you find a better price anywhere, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. That's it. No caveats, no, conditions apply, nothing mentioned like that. And it takes you right to their booking engine. And then I see the rates, and I am looking at I also had it on, my husband had it on his phone, and he said, oh, look at the rates. They're all $99. And on the website, it's $109. And they just made the promotion. And I said, well, I just don't feel comfortable booking, I don't want to book through an OTA. If I can book direct, I'm going to call that hotel where I've stayed before. I'm going to tell them, hey, do you know that you have this going on? And instead of course, oh, thank you for letting us know. Yeah, thank you for taking the time to book direct with us. We really appreciate when we have repeat customers to book direct. None of that happened. Just a little hour from hell happened after that. And then the next day, the general manager called me back, and she said all the things that I just said. Of course, we love to have you book direct. Please book direct with us. We really appreciate your taking the time to let us know. I wonder why. I know we are supposed to have the lowest rate on our thing, but that isn't the way it was handled at the hotel or where the call was transferred to reservations, which was probably corporate. I really don't know. But why do hotels do this to themselves? why are we sending business to the OTAs while we're spending millions of dollars on promoting Booking Direct, and then it's such a bad experience? Where is that brand promise actually coming in? You make a brand promise, but the execution is so painful. For if I didn't have that very sweet call from the general manager the next day, I would be bitter about it for a long time. And actually, it's always going to stay in my head. I don't think I'll forget that one.
Virginia points out to the side, and this is just kind of a crossover discussion that we certainly, because we're going to get into TripAdvisor here all too soon. Virginia points out in the chat that it's unfortunate that when these things happen that we're talking about, the hotel is the one that receives the impact, the negative review. That hotel didn't accommodate their hotel. By the same token, I'll say in reverse, this is not that you can handle every person this way, but it made the news that the Ritz-Carlton, some location, I forget what it was in the news, they found out that this elderly person, and I don't think age had anything to do with it, booked at a kind of a really place that called itself the Ritz-Carlton, thinking it was the Ritz-Carlton, and it was a little divey hotel calling itself the Ritz-Carlton. Anyway, then that's a kind of scenario like you said happened. It was terrible. It wasn't what they expected. They tried to get out of it. They were obligated. They had to pay fines. Anyway, the big Ritz-Carlton, the real Ritz-Carlton, honored and asked them to come stay with them, and they covered the cost. That's the stories that get out.
Yeah.
If you did that, like saying, wow, first off, we're sorry that happened to you, and they could have just ignored the whole thing. Like, hey, silly you for looking at a Ritz-Carlton that wasn't us. But they didn't. They saw this as an opportunity to step in and be what the Ritz-Carlton says it is and do what the Ritz-Carlton says it does, and offered that to them. And now it made, international news that they did this. This was someplace in Italy, to be honest with you.
But
go ahead. Sorry.
they live and breathe that every single day. They are talking about those legendary stories, creating, and they empower their people to create these legendary stories. Up to $2,000, any employee can make a decision because it's the right thing to do, and it creates brand loyalty. And Ritz-Carlton has so many other stories like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Shep Hyken, who is a customer experience expert, tells the story of Nordstrom, who is of course one of those companies that is legendary for that customer experience. And he tells the story that somebody came back saying that he had a guarantee on his tires, and he wants a refund because they didn't hold out. And the story is that in that location where Nordstrom was in the mall was where the tire store used to be in the mall. And he just wasn't looking at what the name of the store is. He just came back to that place, went to customer service and said, I want a refund. And they decided to give it to him. And they said, we'll work it out on the back end. Maybe that company will give it to us. Maybe they won't. But whatever it is, I'm going to take care of this guy.
We have those stories. I mean, face it, I buy stuff at Costco that's probably more expensive than other places. But you know what? I can walk into any Costco and have bought something 3 years ago that says it doesn't work anymore. And they're like, okay. They can look it up on my purchase and there's your money back.
They have excellent customer service throughout the entire operation at Costco. I find everybody so helpful, and they're really hustling. I see them run down the aisle to try to find the price of something so that
Adele, you can be intimidating too. I know. I've seen the Adele glare, and I'm telling you right now, that scares the bejeebers out of me sometimes. I'm like, sure, I'll run down the hallway right now.
Yeah.
I guess what I really want to point out before we start rolling into the TripAdvisor conversation, which Adele, thank you for being with it, so we can talk about this in great detail from somebody that knows what the hell's going on, and Dean too. Dean, you went through the whole process too. I ignored my invitation. Well, I ignored it. I got busy with something else. I couldn't go into it. So I missed my little preview window when they asked me to talk to them. But it looks like everybody's ready for the race. Everybody knows business is going to burst out whenever that opportunity exists for whatever market it is. And so all these entities are jockeying for position for the volume of use that they are hoping to acquire. TripAdvisor, which we'll get to obviously with their model now as to what they want to do. Google what we just finished talking about to some degree. I'm sure we'll have more in-depth, Dean, as you go start rattling around through the more concepts of it. Positioning themselves to be a mirror to what OTAs have been historically the offerers of, the paid versus organic component, the options availability, and so forth. Because as Steph pointed out, that it's going to get refined. This is entry level stuff. And then as they start doing more refinement and we begin to trust Google to tell us more particularly what we should be interested in rather than just here everything is, the chaos of choice and, the paradox of it and everything, but rather let's refine that based on what we know about you. Let's tailor the content to more specific interest. We know that's coming. That's just inevitable with as much as the sun's going to shine. So with that in mind, here we have TripAdvisor. And Adele, that's kind of the lead into that conversation. It's like, okay, so now TripAdvisor's rolling out going, hey, guess what we have? And Adele, what do they have?
Yes, well, TripAdvisor now has the new service, TripAdvisor Plus, which is a subscription service. So as a traveler, you pay $99 a year. And what you get is membership. So you are now in a fenced-in group where you can get a fenced-in offer from many hotels who sign up. And also it's going to be for, I think it's going to include restaurants and attractions and things like that as well. But I know that right now it's supposed to be available for all hotels. And when I say all hotels, I don't mean all, because you have to have a certain guest satisfaction level in order to be a part of it, because this is going to be something for their elite travelers, for the people who really care about travel and want to get the best experience and the best value and are going to use TripAdvisor enough that they're well covering that $99 expense. So hotels are able to sign up and offer this special without any fee, without any monthly fee, any sign-up fee, any annual fee, and zero commission. So it made me, I think before TripAdvisor came out with the announcement, we were all talking among ourselves and everybody was pretty convinced that this was going to be a commissionable thing, just like Genius at Booking.com or the members only rate at Expedia, that this was going to be another one of those things. And I was so downhearted, but I was waiting to see what TripAdvisor had to say. I really hoped that it was not going to be another one of those because, frankly, it's either a cost that we're going to have to pass on to the customers or eat. And we just don't have the wherewithal to eat any more charges. But it was great news to hear from TripAdvisor that they were doing it for zero commission, and they were, focusing on getting their revenue through other ways by making TripAdvisor Plus so successful that lots of travelers would like to sign up for it. And all you have to do is you give 10% off. I think a lot of hotels are already giving 10% off for something. So why not for this? 10% off for your own hotel company's members, 10% off for Booking.com Geniuses or the members only on Expedia. So 10% off is not a big deal. Actually, if it is, you might increase your rate a little bit in order to cover that for the discount. I always feel like I always have some sort of a promotion that has 10% off on my website because people love to feel like they're getting an extra value. So don't worry that I'm gonna give something to TripAdvisor Plus that I'm not gonna have something comparable and competitive on my website. You bet I'm gonna have it, and I always have, because I always want to be more competitive on my website than out there on other channels. So the reason I love this is that it's a real return to the culture of TripAdvisor before they started charging commission. Like
I'll agree with in that sense.
They were going in that direction, and it was not making friends. It was definitely irritating for some hotels and for I think the general public too, because now you're not focusing on what's best for your consumer, but you're focusing on what's best for our conversions. And this is a complete shift away, because they have said that this is their number one priority, is the TripAdvisor Plus program. It's going to deliver value. It's going to deliver great experiences. The hotels will not be charged for anything, but you do give the 10% discount, and you add a perk. So you can add a perk that's $20. You could probably, it depends on, of course, what. Oh, we're going to have the other side of that coin coming soon from my friend Ed.
Uh-oh. Were
I was
you
going to
on
let
that?
Steph jump in. Steph looked like she was going to say something real quick. Go, Steph, go ahead.
Well, no, I was wondering, how are they doing it on a calendar year or rolling 12 months for membership?
Oh, I think it's rolling.
Yeah, it's rolling to when you
but
sign
I
up.
could be wrong, because I didn't get signed up, because I'm waiting to actually have a travel experience that would be
Justify the
interesting.
$99.
So that way my year lasts as long as possible. So I think it's rolling.
Okay.
Bingo.
Well, I just
Most
know
of
the
the
airlines do
travel-
a calendar, and it's very, it seems almost easier to keep up with. So it's going to be, for them, it's going to be hard to.
You know what? Everything I sign up for, Spotify or Big View or whatever it is that I sign up for, I have a million subscriptions out there, and they're always starting from whatever day I book until a year later. So,
But in hospitality, airlines and hotel loyalty stuff is based on, it's always calendar year, right?
Adele, can you throw into a link to Stephanie in the chat? Sorry, she was asking about if there's a link to the Plus program that you might be able to share.
So Adele,
no,
I'm curious as to why you think that I'm going to give the opposite.
Well, I don't know. History, track record,
The horns.
business.
I bring it on. If you've read Tim Peter, he has written something saying, just keep your eyes open, because that sounds a little bit too generous, and maybe they're just wanting to gain the audience this way, and later on things will change. But guess what?
So
everything changes.
I sat on a Clubhouse this morning that was a deep presentation of what this consultant had kind of been able to garner from all the details of how the TripAdvisor program is working. And I sat on this presentation for 45 minutes listening to the celebration of it. And I was just curious, like, is anyone thinking about how to protect yourself in this? Like, right. First of all, you're not going to fight it. TripAdvisor is going to do this, and it's going to succeed or fail completely on their efforts. You have no impact to this. And I'll kind of also start with, you should experiment with it and your participation in it. You should not just put on your tinfoil hat and say this is bad. But I got to be honest with you, this is not good for hotels. And you should look at this program the same way you look at Expedia, which is there's a lot of good. This is a great acquisition opportunity to fill rooms when you need it. However, do not be fooled. They're giving you access to the data of the person so you can try and have a relationship with them. You will not be successful in that because they have sunk costs into TripAdvisor. And TripAdvisor wants you to market like crazy to their travelers who have paid $99, because those travelers are going to book through their TripAdvisor membership every time they stay with you. You will never get them out of that unless you create something that's more attractive to book than what TripAdvisor is going to have for them. So it is beneficial for you to understand there is zero value in them sharing the data with you outside of you promoting that person to book you again, knowing that they're going to come through TripAdvisor. They're not going to do it direct.
You
Now-
know what? It's the principle of always having your website have a better offer than anything that they can get anywhere else has always been true until now and will continue to always be true in the future.
Right.
And that's, I mean, so in that way, nothing has changed. Unfortunately, a lot of hotels don't do that. I
Right.
don't know why, but they
Because
should.
I don't think they understand that they can in a lot of cases. I think there's been this ingrained fear that I can't present a better opportunity because of the rules of my contracts with the different people I work with. But, you know, I think it's important to understand the psychology of membership. And the psychology of membership, paid membership, is very strong. And you can't compare this to American Express, because American Express, the fee I pay for my Platinum card, I'm not just getting one benefit from it. I'm getting a substantial amount of perks. So I'm looser with not remembering that I should try American Express when I'm booking a trip. I don't care as much, because actually the things I care about in my Platinum perks have to do with the Wi-Fi, the free Wi-Fi credit on planes. Like, that's what's got me, is I never have to pay for internet on planes. Like, that alone is worth it to me. When you're talking about Amazon Prime, and that's, I think, a better one to look at, the primary value benefit of Amazon Prime is retail. Yes, they've added other stuff. By the way, I said Amazon Prime, and I just got an email from Prime.
Nobody's listening.
But the primary benefit is the retail aspect, the free shipping. I will never buy from a retailer that I can get Amazon Prime, because I sink cost in Amazon Prime for retail shopping purposes. It's just full stop. I always check Amazon, and if it's the same price, I'm going Amazon Prime, even if there's free shipping with the retailer. Like, it's matching it is not enough. You have to exceed it. So understanding that consumer psychology of sunk cost, just understand this isn't a bad guest that you're going to get from TripAdvisor Plus. This is not a better guest than Expedia. Like,
It is because you're not paying commission.
today, you are paying commission. You're paying the commission straight to the traveler. And so today, there is no combination. But I guarantee you that once this is up and running, a portion of the commission is going to go to benefit the traveler, and the rest of it is going to go to TripAdvisor once they have hit mass. Amazon did this with Prime. Amazon Prime's benefits fall almost completely on the product company, right? Like, the costs come out of their side. It didn't in the beginning. Amazon ate it, and Amazon burned money to hit scale to where they owned the consumer. That was the game. TripAdvisor is going to follow Amazon's game to the exact T. Lose money on building the investment with the consumer. Once you have the investment with the consumer and you no longer have to worry about whether or not a hotel participates, then you go to a mixed mode. And then eventually, if you get it to ultimate success, you put it all on the hotel. That's how it will go.
So let's talk for a minute about why this is a win for TripAdvisor, because let's think about the landscape of these channels for just a moment. Google's the elephant in the room amongst meta search channels, right? They're eating everybody's lunch. And for a long time, TripAdvisor was in second place. Trivago in years past came up to kind of exceed them, largely due to their advertising, attracting the international audience and those different things. So TripAdvisor started sinking into this third place finish. Well, COVID comes around, Trivago stops advertising, European travelers are no longer a thing for us. So now all of a sudden there's a gap in there that TripAdvisor has an opportunity to come back into. The place where TripAdvisor has always been attractive for me as a marketer was with this niche traveler that was going for the all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean, was going to the Waldorf Astoria in New York City, was that luxury traveler that had a higher end travel desire, what they were doing, and was going to spend more money on the affluent traveler. That's that same traveler that $99 is going to be a drop in the bucket for, right? So I'm targeting that right traveler, but not only am I targeting the right traveler, I'm targeting them at the right time. because now we've got all this revenge travel that we've talked about, pent up demand and so forth. It's all there, just waiting for somebody to pick it up. And TripAdvisor's put them in the right spot to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will move them into that second place finish below Google and allow them to knock down Trivago again. The thing that I don't like about it, and the discounting part doesn't bother me so much, because as Adele said, you're discounting your rate. Look, if you're selling to an OTA, you're already discounting your rates, okay? The commission is a discount. So I'm not so concerned about the discounting. What I don't like about it, though, traditionally with a site like TripAdvisor or Google or Trivago or Kayak, metasearch in general, links off to your hotel. It's a link off site, link off marketing. And that means I get the traffic. Within TripAdvisor Plus, the booking is taking place in TripAdvisor, similar to like an instant book would be, but you're not paying a commission on it, right? So TripAdvisor still owns that guest, even though, yes, they're passing you the guest information, you don't get that cookie. So let's assume for a moment that it's converting, and we'll talk about conversion rates here in a minute, but let's say it's converting 5%, and that's probably generous, by the way. That means 95% of them didn't. Now, if that traffic was going to your website, that's 95, 100% of it that you can drop a cookie on there and do remarketing on. And that's especially important to this audience, because this audience is in that dreamer phase, right? These are people that are dreaming of that vacation they didn't get to take last year and have not decided exactly where they want to go yet. It's a little bit lower funnel than prospecting. Prospecting says, I'm just looking for the guy that likes long walks on the beach in the month of December. This is more the middle of the funnel, where I'm driving intent. They've paid $99, which means they intend to do something with it, right? So I'm driving intent, so it can convert a little bit better than prospecting, not as well as a direct booking or a direct marketing like metasearch, but it is in that middle funnel. And that's where we really want to be able to get all of that into our marketing machine. We can't do it because it doesn't get to our website.
Yep.
But here's my perspective. I've already got a great offer on my website that's better than anything else that's distributed. I'm already, doing great as far as attracting people to my hotels on TripAdvisor who never heard of them because I didn't spend any money on advertising. It's, they're sending people to me. They're genuinely sending people to my hotel. But it's not, you say that you're just giving the commission to the traveler, but actually I already have a 10% off offer. So that's not it. I'm giving much more than 10% to the OTAs. So if I can lessen my dependence on an OTA that's charging me high commissions and may tomorrow decide to increase that anytime they want, because there's no legal limit to how much the commission can be, which by the way, I know Ed disagrees with me, but I think there should be a cap. I would take any percentage. If I could lower that by 5-10% or more, but even if I could just lower it by 5 or 10%, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy to get that direct connection with the guests, and you leave it to me.
So
to start making those relationships.
and maybe you've seen something I haven't, but the TripAdvisor Plus program is 12 to 15% is the range I've seen everywhere. It has to be
15 to be competitive, really.
Yeah, they want 15.
But
So-
well, they told me 10.
having said that, I think it's less about the discount and more about the amenity. And the reason I say that is, again, this traveler, it's the affluent traveler, surely like to get his discount. Everybody does. But I think that the perks, if I was that traveler, the perk would be more attractive to me than the discount.
Right, but
12
under
to 15%, I just want to clarify, the thing that charges 12 to 15% commission is the old TripAdvisor direct.
But in their marketing material of this and the stuff they're presenting is they're using that range as what they want in the plus, saying that they're going to pass that to the guest in the early phase as part of signing up for the $99.
Yeah.
So now it's 12 to 15%. Let's just say it's the only published stuff I've seen from TripAdvisor. I haven't seen 10%. They may do it. Let's talk about some of the wrinkles that have already occurred. So first of all, you do not need to voluntarily participate in TripAdvisor for them to turn this on.
Right.
They've done this in a market that I already know has happened where they turned it on for all the hotels in a market using a rate that you wouldn't want published, that they got from another source, but they met all the rules of it, which is if they are paying, if it's a qualified rate, this rate can be sold qualified as packaged and, you know, all of this stuff.
Closed user group.
So how did we find out about this? Well, it's because the hotel started getting cancellations from reservations on the books, because with the $99 investment, the savings they got through doing that was better than the best member rate that this hotel already provided, because it was a 4-night stay. And so 15% of the 4-night stay was better than their member rate. So all I'm saying is today, Tripadvisor is being as friendly as they need to be to get the hoteliers to not actively fight this. Please understand, once Tripadvisor has got enough of these $99 annual memberships, this will become as expensive to the hotels as Expedia and Booking.com is. And you will not be successful in getting someone who is given Tripadvisor $99 in booking you direct, unless you go more benefit than they're getting for that $99. Like, just understand that. And you're in kind of a pickle in doing that, because they're asking for, you know, being able to pay this forward. They're asking for, I believe, at least a $20 a night amenity to be, you know, included in this. It's going to become expensive on your own direct campaign to compete with that once Tripadvisor has proven that this works with the consumer. So, like, they're not asking you for more today. They're going to ask you for more once they have this scaled, because once they get, you know, 10 million consumers paying $99 a year, guess what? In the prime markets that those consumers are booking, they're going to start saying, hey, if you want access to this, you have to give us more. And you know what? Unfortunately for you, you can hold out all you want. Someone in your market's going to give them more to get that positioning. And it's not going to be long term. If Tripadvisor is successful, this will not be good for you as a hotel. Short term, you can definitely take advantage of this. Understand it creates a new wrinkle for you long term.
Steph,
I just don't know if they can reach the scale if the big brands aren't participating. I mean, you know, the brands are putting together their POVs, but it's not going to be in favor of having hotels join or opt into this program. I mean, Hilton is still evaluating, Hyatt said no, and Marriott's advice right now as it stands is still no as well. So, you know, can they reach scale if, you know, the major brands are not offering inventory on through that channel?
But see, the problem is because they're going to the GDS for this, this triggers the ability to sell rates that are generally available with a lot of inventory on the brand. So while Marriott may be saying no, they could still sell Marriott's through other providers without violating the other provider's agreement. This is a game that a lot of Asian OTAs have played with FIT agreements and things like that, that as long as you're meeting that agreement, that rate is available to be sold. This is not as easy of a game to control as Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt would like you to believe.
And I'd like to throw in,
I don't think Tripadvisor is going to go up against Marriott and say, I'm going to do it anyways. I mean, they have to.
Why not? They have shown that they absolutely will do that.
Yeah, all they have to do is they can grab rooms from a bed bank, a wholesaler, like you were saying, and they can populate that in there. And, you know, so let's tie some things together here now. We talked about Google earlier and their organic meta, and how you can have the Wild West of wholesale rates in there. Well, now imagine for a moment Tripadvisor Plus with a crossed out rate, just like you were doing with your brand with a loyalty rate. Put a crossed out rate in Google Meta saying, click here to get membership to get a discount rate. I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you we've got a lower rate. And they plug it into the Google Organic and don't pay a dime for it.
Yep.
And let's put into some things too. Tripadvisor knows the lowest sustainable value that our hotels have to operate under, and they're going to bleed us down to that level. So to Ed's point, if we need to offer better than what's being offered through that ecosystem they've created, we don't have margin to do that. They know how far to bleed us down.
Well, and
and that
what's
goes-
going to
I'm
get
not just
even
saying
worse,
TripAdvisor,
I
but
mean,
anybody.
what's actually more dangerous for hotels is not what they're leading you on. They're doing this across all their attractions side.
Right.
of
No. I'm only making the
so the
for
actual
hotels as the example of
overall
it.
value, even if you match it, even if you do slightly better, if it's a traveler that's going to do multiple things, it becomes impossible to
Right.
compete with. It
I
becomes
think the biggest point out of some of the dialogue that we've had is Dean's point about the fact that 95% or whatever the percent that didn't convert, okay, not having access to dialoguing with them because they didn't come to you for that dialogue is a critical component of the discussion. That's the give up that we're doing, is that we're losing the direct connect. By nature, we know everybody wants the path of least resistance. Travel planners historically have always been that convenience factor. I go to that travel planner in my city back in the day because they knew me. I dealt with them. It's the same reason we have loyalty to businesses that we buy tires from. It's like, hey, you know me. I bought my tires from you last time. I'm buying more tires. Hey, give me the deal that you're going to give people because I do business with you. Whatever it is, there's that relationship building. But the key element is we lose connection to this. Our internal problems are owners are going to listen to this. Just tell me where I'm going to get business. Well, okay, so I pay them 10%. What the heck? I don't, the world's changed, guys.
It's how all of this has happened before. This is brilliant on TripAdvisor because TripAdvisor was lost. TripAdvisor lost focus of the, caring about the traveler. They've lost focus of caring about the travel industry. And through their crazy efforts to listen to Wall Street, they lost a lot. This is a perfect 4D chess move in a game where everyone else is playing checkers. This is actually hugely problematic. And it's a company that has proven that they completely don't give an F about anyone. They have proven it time and time again that the almighty dollar is what they chase. And there's no recourse in their mind because they also, the industry continues to go, oh, you know what? We're going to give you another chance. We know you completely screwed us and screwed up while screwing us, but we're going to give you another chance, TripAdvisor. And the worst thing that can happen is TripAdvisor gets successful at this. Expedia is going to go, well, all right. We're doing this.
I'm not afraid of Expedia doing it. I'm afraid of Google doing that. Now, what happens if Google
if Google does it, they have a problem with monopoly.
Yes.
So it's going to be more problematic for them to enter into this. And you don't have to worry about Booking.com doing it because Booking.com already has an agreement with Amazon Prime. So Booking.com has to chase and jump through more hoops to launch their own because they have to unwind the Amazon Prime relationship that they have. Expedia doesn't have that relationship. So TripAdvisor gets some success on this, gets some pop on this, takes the beating on getting the industry to just accept it. Expedia gets to swoop in and do the same thing. And now, this is a really bad thing for the industry. And Marriott and Hilton and Hyatt can puff their chests all they want on this. The bottom line is every $99 that TripAdvisor gets actually is most damaging to those brands because TripAdvisor's taking a swing at getting sunk cost from a consumer and they have first movers advantage on this. Those $99 spent on TripAdvisor completely F's anyone who doesn't have what TripAdvisor has, which TripAdvisor has more than stay. They also have the small attractions. They have all the things to do. They have restaurant. And anyone who doesn't have that footprint that tries to piece this together is never going to get the person who paid TripAdvisor $99 to move over to their thing.
So I think it's a brilliant move on TripAdvisor's part. The only question is it good for hotels?
No, I don't think it's horrible for them, but I don't think it's good for them.
I'm going to tell you why I don't agree. If my typical reservation is about $1,200, and people pay all different things for commissions for the OTAs. I'm going to say 20. it can be as low as 15, it can be as high as 30. Actually, it can be more than that in Europe because they actually pay commission to Booking.com and Expedia on
VAT.
on the tax, which
Yep.
is just, that should be illegal too.
It is, by the way.
Well, everybody's doing it.
I know,
and,
but
and
I know. It exists, but it is illegal.
so on $1,200, just let's base it on 20%. That's $240. If giving TripAdvisor an offer that I already have 10% off, out there in the world, if I'm giving them 10% off bar and giving them a competitive rate with the OTAs membership rates and a little perk, $20, if that's going to help me diminish, if I'm going to spend $20 or $40 to make that less, that is pure gold for me. If I can communicate directly
On purpose, by the way, on purpose, it's pure gold. They are using the drug dealer method to and it's fine short term, but Adele, it completely screws you.
We don't know how long it will last, and I'm going to
the best thing that could happen to this industry is TripAdvisor does this, gives everyone like this nice pop, and then fails miserably at it. That is the only case where this works out well for the hotel industry.
TripAdvisor has delivered so much business to my hotels.
Yep.
And there is no investment that has ever had the return of anything that I've ever spent on TripAdvisor, except
and don't get me wrong,
the display ads. The display ads didn't do anything for me.
But don't get me wrong, Adele. I started by saying you should be playing with this and you should be developing a strategy on it. And in the short term, this is going to be a good thing, which everyone needs good right now. Understand unequivocally, long term, if this is successful for TripAdvisor, long term, it's really bad.
If you're a hotelier and it helps you get some business to come in a different way, and you can take that opportunity to make those relationships direct, and always,
you're never going to own that relationship,
always
Adele.
follow the principle of doing
Adele, Amazon has proven that the caveat you're adding, that you can have the relationship direct, Amazon has proven that is worthless if the person invested in Prime. Like, I'm sorry, you are not going to, unless you get them and eventually stop participating, that would be the only time you'll get some of them to book you, not through the TripAdvisor Plus. It's the TripAdvisor Plus methodology of why they're willing to give you the name and email is because they got a commitment from that person that will keep a large amount of those people from ever booking you direct.
As long as I have that email and I can market to them directly, and I can have a relationship and know who they are, and they know me,
and you'll forever pay tax to TripAdvisor on it. You will.
Hold on. Okay, Stuart.
Adele, have you ever bought something on Amazon from a non-Amazon distributor where you get an email from them with like a satisfaction survey or something? You ever done that? Happens a lot. Like
I don't remember. I really don't remember.
Which you're proving my point, right? It happens, and it happens probably more than you realize. Have you ever responded to them? Have you ever gone back direct to their website and booked? You won't. As much as I hate to admit it, I'm fully aligned with Ed on this one. I think this is both the Google play and this TripAdvisor play are the exact same thing. They're trying to get into the hearts and the minds of the consumer. They're trying to control the consumer and put their hands in the cookie jar of the hotel while they're doing it. And short term, yes, I don't think you have a choice. It's inevitable that you have to play nice, but long term, there's no benefit. Can you do what you're saying, Adele? Possibly, on a very extreme fringe case. Vast majority of hotels will not do it. They've proven it again and again, which is why they're over-reliant on OTAs.
Okay, but
really, talking about the only difference is I don't get their email address with the OTAs. You know what? Every single guest that comes to your hotel is standing across from your employee who you tell what to do. You can get every email address from OTAs, but yet
You
we
know
don't.
what? I have never had pushback from anything I've ever asked the front desk to do more than asking for the email address.
But it can be a
The better
requirement.
way of getting the email address is to send a pre-stay email.
Because
even
it's
if you're doing
difficult.
it through the
Because it's
OTAs.
difficult doesn't mean you can't do it. There are hotels that have done it very
Yeah.
successfully.
Yep.
But
Okay,
the vast
but-
majority
but
don't.
just
It's
saying,
difficult.
There's so much pushback about it. You would be surprised. I'm surprised.
There's pushback from the front desk on anything you ask them to do. Multiple
I've
vendor,
nothing compared to-
How many of your
multiple.
front desk agents don't put the credit card into the PMS?
What?
When you ask the front desk person, part of your responsibility is having the guest swipe a credit card. How many don't do that?
Zero.
Zero don't do
Because
that.
you tell them
So
they don't
guys,
have a choice.
Tell
to
them
the
they
same-
have to do it.
to the
It's
same
not
logic-
just you have to do it. It's a requirement of employment, and it's part of the culture. Every single person will do it.
Okay,
So to
Dean,
the
go
same
ahead.
logic here, guys, from by the logic that we're putting out here, that you're never going to own the guest, that Tripadvisor is going to take all of this over and they're going to own everything. By that same logic, I should never be selling to an OTA. I should never let an OTA sell my hotel at all. Hotels.com has a great loyalty program. Stay 5 nights, get a night free, or however many it is, whatever. And I'm not getting anything from them at all, right? So
You know the breakage on that though. There's no sunk cost like Ed keeps talking about. You're not bringing
the
cash
consumer,
to
yeah,
hotel.com.
you're going to pay $99, but for me as a hotelier, the result is the same, right? I'm not getting any
Today,
not owning the guest.
again, guys, like today, this is an amazing deal for hotels. Please, for the love of God, understand there is a reason for that. And it's so they can scale it so they can screw you later. And they're
You can get
going to,
addicted
if they're
I'll worry about that
successful.
later.
Can't remove yourself
And
from
that
it.
is why our industry is perpetually stuck in this cycle. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, it's the bottom line. Like, the best thing that can happen is that Tripadvisor fails at this. Then you get the short-term benefit with none of the long-term stick. The long-term stick of this is hugely problematic. It's
Well,
hugely problematic.
And in fairness, you're right to that point, because if we look at every major downturn in the industry, whether it be 9/11,
birth-
recession, whatever, what
It
happened?
gave birth to Priceline. It gave
Yeah,
birth
exactly.
to Airbnb.
Sell our
it
souls
gave-
to whoever's going to sell the rooms for us. And
Okay,
then
so
figure out
what you're saying
how
is
I
that we're not. Hold on. So you're saying we're no smarter than a 3-year-old, because the marshmallow test says that a 3-year-old even understands the difference between getting 1 marshmallow now versus 5 marshmallows later. Okay, so you're selling us as an industry. We're no smarter than a 3-year-old. Let me bring this
history
some
has
context.
shown
We're
us
not.
Okay.
Why is it to ignore deferred gratification? It's
Okay,
part of.
so let me look at just from a constructive point of view. First off, I agree with Adele that there will always be the fringe of capability. Stuart, you condemn me that every day. You know, hey, generally most people can't do this, but Lauren, you find a little niche in something. So I will always be the underdog storyteller. I agree with that. I completely agree with the perspective of human behavior that Ed and Stuart are pointing out to. Yes, this will be exactly as Ed says. In my mind, that's my opinion. It's going to go this way. It's the drug dealer mentality. Taste it, like it, want it, settle for it, know that I'm the source for it, and now you're going to be dependent on it. Totally agree with that concept. I also know that the reason why the interstate is so cool driving through Arizona, because it gets you to where you want to go. You know what's cooler? Going down the old Route 66 that it replaced. That's cooler. That's much more fun. There's much more cool things that are there. The businesses that died on it is because they didn't realize they should have gone to the interstate and started selling the same stuff they had there. Okay. Now they're not but a shell of what they used to be. Okay. On the direct business, but people pull off the interstate to get to them. So we have history to look at in variety of ways. Some of the other things that Dean pointed out, that 95% of the people that did not go to your website, that used them instead, yes, you miss dialoguing with them. Just like when I go to buy tires, I restart my search process because nothing that tire store did for me, I cared about when I wasn't buying
Tripadvisor
tires.
is going to remarket the crap out of those.
Okay. So
Tripadvisor does
until
it
I want
today.
that hotel, I don't give a crap about what they're offering me.
Right.
But I do give a crap about spending $99 on Amazon, and I want to make sure, goddamn it, I'm going to squeeze every penny out of that while I spent $99 on it. So if I go in,
and by the way, if you
earlier
go
on-
into the deeper, like what Amazon's done with it now, where it's no longer about discounting, like people are no longer like, I bought $8 artichokes from Amazon because my grocery store didn't have them, and I was like,
Right.
whatever, whatever.
It's gonna be on my
And-
door tomorrow. What the hell? Yeah.
No, it was on my door before I got home from the grocery
There
store.
you go. And,
So
and like Adele
understand,
pointed out, she's not buying her TripAdvisor Plus yet because she's going to get the full value of it when she decides to travel.
like, you proved the problem. You haven't even invested yet, and TripAdvisor already got you. And Adele, like, this is what I'm saying. So the only reason I'm saying this is because none of what I'm saying matters, because guess what? It's happening. So you have to do this. You have to be thoughtful of how you're going to take advantage of this, because they're going to do it with or without you. So it's better to control it. But I just want to put this out there right now that I will probably build a product 5 years from now that is designed to help you push back on this issue that TripAdvisor caused, that you all welcomed open arms, and I will make money off of it. That's how I've built my entire career, is fixing the problems that the hotel industry created for themselves by wholeheartedly welcoming the short-term fix over the long-term right thing to do.
Well, here's something you can do today, right? I agree 100%. You should absolutely be experimenting with this platform. We don't know if it's going to be successful or not, but you'd be foolish to bury your head
Be
in
a
the sand.
fool to not.
True.
Get data.
It's objective that your entire operation, from sales, from marketing to operations, agrees on, and that is you are going to decrease your reliance on third parties by X% over the next 12 months. That's a business objective you can set, and once you focus on that, you're going to see behavior change to work towards that. You can invest in first-party data. You can invest in better infrastructure. You can surely invest in a better booking engine, because 99% on the market are garbage.
Especially on mobile.
Especially on mobile. You
And
can be
instead of
doing
saying-
effort, putting effort towards, how do I make sure this doesn't become problematic? Because if you're here, wherever here is right now, of reliance on third parties, and you're going up instead of down, you're going to be in a lot more trouble a year from now than you are right now.
Oh, and by the way, these are the most problematic types of consumers, because once they go, you ain't getting them. Like, I'm sorry, once the consumer invests in TripAdvisor, this is Apple and Android. Like, there should be no reason that consumers care about the operating system of one or the other, but it is so ingrained in the you didn't make the choice I made. Like, people hate each other. People hate Android users if they're an Apple user, and vice versa. And that was designed that way, to own the person, to own their mind, and make so much friction to where it gets to the fabric of their social, like, decisions in life. That is what this is. Amazon has proven it. TripAdvisor is brilliant for doing this. Let's not kid ourselves. This is a huge problem if it's successful.
You know who
So
else has done
today,
it too in travel is Groupon. It's a different market
but
segment.
it's the same problem. Like,
the exact
anyone
same
you
problem.
get through Groupon, through running a Groupon, you will never get them to book you outside of Groupon.
And that's not just a claim. We've analyzed the data.
It's
We've
true.
looked at booking
It's called the early bird special mentality. Once I get it at
We'll
lower
not get
price,
back at
I
rack
can
rate.
never ask for the same price again.
Nope.
Yep.
And what you actually do, if you study Groupon, is really interesting, because you can see people that had booked direct with you previously that jump to Groupon as their channel now
And never come back.
will never come back. So you actually, in the long term, did yourself more harm than good, even though you thought you were giving yourself a shot, like an adrenaline shot.
The only, and this goes back to believing in Adele.
We all believe in Adele.
Truly, honestly. But the fight of why, I will always be the champion that the hotel will find a way, is the only thing that I've ever been successful at is the hidden coin. Here's something. When you decide you want to come back to my market, here's what you're going to get for it. Bring this in, and it means something very, very important. Not a standard discount, not a special offer, not a current offer. You stayed with me. You are so special to me that I'm giving you this special thing. And when you want to redeem it, I'm the only person who's going to redeem this. This means I'm trusting and valuing that you're going to come back to me as a guest. I've done that with one hotel in Virginia, and it paid off, where we were fighting all the brands that came into market. All of a sudden, the market went from, and I'm not trying to be colloquial, Hicksville, okay, to everybody in the world wanted to be in this little town because of where it was. and brands just pumped in all these new hotels, and everybody's like, hey, I love being with you, but I want points at this XYZ brand over here. And the only thing we could compete with, other than giving them cash for the value of their lifetime value, was to say, here's a token for value.
I'm from Virginia, by the way.
What's that?
I'm from Virginia, by the way.
Well, see, no matter where you step, no.
But Lauren, what you're describing is a deliberate effort to control the relationship with the guest,
Yes.
right? That's what you accomplished there. Every hotel in the world has the capability to do that. They just don't put the deliberate effort into.
They get lazy, and we all deal with those clients. We all deal with those owners that literally, I brought it up legitimately. I'm going to have these conversations with owners that are saying, what do I care? Let's make the money now. Let's get the one marshmallow. I don't care about 4 marshmallows later. I'll deal about worrying about 4 marshmallows later when I want 1 more marshmallow. The delayed gratification is I need to pay bills now. I need money now. That's why it's brilliant what your point, Ed. Everybody knows business is coming. They want to be in the front of the line when that bell rings and the line drops and everybody's out to the races. They want to be in that mix. And we're going to look for any place we can get business. And we're going to say, well, we want to come direct, sure, but hey, these people are already ahead of us in the race. Let's ride their coattails. Let's get into their program. Let's get their business. And people are going to do that. And how many times have we all had the argument, and I mean this legitimately, why should I even do any advertising when I should just rely on the OTAs? If it's only 15% commission or 18% commission, if you're telling me it's going to cost me 20% of what you're spending for me to get that business, isn't it cheaper for me to go with the OTAs? Tell me we haven't all had that conversation with some client somewhere along the line that has come up with that dialogue. And you're sitting there going, what? Now we get into the conversation of ownership of the guest. And that's exactly what Dean pointed out. That 95% of the people that you know, and now especially with one party and third party cookies, people don't understand the storm that's rolling here.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, we're going to be blinded to being able to dialogue with people if everybody's going everywhere else, and we can't get that data anymore. We can't talk to them anymore. Yeah, they're our front door.
And I got news for you. Like, because of the entities who are doing this, Marriott won't be able to do it. They won't be able to have an answer pushback.
Chess that you pointed out. They're going to be as brazen as they want to, but at the end of the day, they're going to go in line 2 going, here's my money.
Right. And because it's going to be full trip, and then Tripadvisor is going to get smart. When you're at home, you're going to be able to take advantage of this because there are restaurants in your neighborhood that are part of this. Like
Diners Club Part 2.
This is, yeah, but Diners Club wasn't hugely problematic. This is hugely problematic. This is what Amazon did to Walmart. Like,
hey, okay, I'm going to pull my age card on this one. Diners Club was a big deal because you got discounts and method of payment wrapped up into one. It was a big. When I had restaurants, if didn't have Diners Club, I lost a whole audience, and that was before internet.
Fair enough.
If I didn't have that card whipping down, I didn't have those people.
How long before Tripadvisor comes out with a Tripadvisor?
Well, all I know is that Mary and Joseph showed up one day and they didn't have Diners Club. That's how
Stuart, like with this, it makes complete sense for them to have a credit card now. Like this actually is what makes sense. And like, oh my gosh. And then, likely this is where you'll see an Amazon buy Tripadvisor as their path into travel because it then fits their business and financial model perfectly.
I don't want Amazon to travel. I am
boy,
they're gonna
Dean,
do it.
could you explain to me why you don't want Amazon getting into travel?
They've tried it years ago. They've tried some.
They've tried
They tried several things.
So,
right.
Yeah.
I spent some time working in manufacturing retail with what they call minimum advertised pricing. And the world of monitoring that is like rate parity for retail, and trying to monitor that and control that on Amazon was impossible.
Yep.
So you think you've got a problem with your wholesalers now? Wait till they go on Amazon and sell your crap, and Amazon won't tell you who they are.
So why is that a problem, right? Because Amazon doesn't care about the supplier; they care about controlling the customer.
Right.
Yep.
The difference between what Amazon has done and what Tripadvisor is doing now, absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
They're just going farther up the river. They're trying to control.
Every reason you hate Amazon for being in travel, you're going to be hating Tripadvisor the same way.
I would like to see Facebook buy Tripadvisor. Now that would be a marriage.
And here's the other thing. It's the one aspect right now, currently, that Google can't, as you pointed out, because of monopolistic reasons, can't go into. They can't go into the aggregation, combination, value proposition, Amazon-esque way of dialoguing with guests. Now, I do see, and this is maybe 5th dimension to your 4th dimension, Ed, Google, by what they're doing now with the organic meta search and the nascent sell of a mirror to OTAs, eventually, because it's Alphabet versus Google, creating some sort of variation that becomes like this as their own entity that isn't quite Google or Alphabet, but its own entity, and they can run it, but keep its same placement within the funnel of what Google does. I see that could be a weird, interesting, who knows where that's going to be 5 years from now thing.
Well, let's not pretend that these two things aren't related. There was certainly conversation at Google about when to roll out what they rolled out.
Yeah, there was not a coincidence at all.
I don't think it's a.
Uh-oh, did he freeze?
Google does not like that Stewart's giving
Yeah, so
secrets.
they froze Stewart before he could say the secret.
Google is they're censoring me for sure. But
Yes.
it's not a coincidence of this timing. They're both trying to accomplish the
And
same
again,
thing.
I just want to remind everyone, TripAdvisor has shown their colors time and time again. They do not care. They care to the extent of lodging that a vampire bat cares about a cow, which is they want you to be alive so that they can suck your blood. Like,
You like
don't
the vampire
know.
analogy. Okay.
In actual fact, they care less now than they used to, because it used to be they cared mostly about the consumer, which is how they built their brand, and then the hotels, right? Then in between that came the stakeholders when they went public, and they quickly overtook the consumer. So now it's Wall Street, consumers, then hotels.
You know what? I want to make a point though. TripAdvisor, if you look at their, I'll try to find it while still on the show to put in the links. They did a integrity report or content integrity report about everything that they are doing and all their statistics regarding how much effort they put in to making sure that hotels aren't blackmailed, that fake reviews are caught, that if an owner has a problem with a review and can provide some evidence regarding the situation, like a person who never stayed in the hotel making a review, or maybe being somebody from another hotel, whatever. If you provide some background that makes a valid point, they take it off, and everything is looked at very carefully.
so that they
Try
don't.
to find somebody at Google to talk to.
Or
about-
Facebook. I'll throw them into the pile of burning poo-poo
That's-
also. I mean, but either one of them are miserable about that.
No, there's
But you know
no
why?
comparison.
But you know
cannot
why
compare
there's a
the
difference?
time and energy and money
Because
that TripAdvisor is
Google-
putting to their integrity.
In Google's span of who they care about, they only care about the consumer.
They don't, because
Yes, they do.
They
Like,
don't, because feeding fake reviews to consumers is not a benefit.
they only care about the consumer, Adele. Like, they only care about the consumer in every decision that the consumer makes, which then further waters down the care that they have about what the decision is in travel. They care about all the decisions that the consumer makes, and they care about being part of every one of those decisions. So because of that, yes, there's a huge cliff when things fall into the weird. TripAdvisor is not as powerful as Google or Facebook. Go ahead and try to sue Google. Now, at the same time, go try to sue TripAdvisor. Much easier to sue TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor isn't going to sink the entire legal power of a country, basically, after you, because they don't have that scale. So TripAdvisor...
TripAdvisor sued Google. Did you know that?
Yes.
And they won.
Yes.
And but, okay, so in context to it, and this is how I look at TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor was a great and loyal girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever gender variations you want to look at this. And then they betrayed you. They cheated. They said they were caring about you when in fact they just want to make sure you paid for their expenses.
Yep.
And then they come back and try to be that again, like, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And we forgave them. And then this is kind of goes to what Ed's analogy was of like, we keep giving them, like, oh, we believe that you are what we thought you were. You cared about consumers and so forth. And then now they're looking at a way of stylizing ways for us to be committed to them. Look, let's, be committed to me. Give me money so that, I can, that we have this relationship to it. I do have to agree with the fact that they're worried about what the perception of them are from our perspective than the actual value they represent. I think that they do, and to your point, Adele, they point out, please let us know if we screwed up. Please know if there's something that we didn't do right. because they want us to believe that what they're doing is into our benefit. But they have sold their soul to Wall Street. They are more persistent about whether they're perceived as value. And I do think that we always agreed that they lost their way and they weren't what they were before. Dean, you pointed out in the tiers of what they were. And now they have a chance to come back to the front of the line again with something that is brilliant. And hey, pay me to give you all the super cool stuff that only I can give you. I can give you deals at restaurants, deals at events, deals at attractions, deals in hotels, deals in flight, deals in cars. I have all these
things at the right time.
Right now. And yes, right now, we can't ignore the channel of opportunity for us because we're all hungry. We all want business to our hotels. But I do, and I think you agree with it too, Adele, is that it will begin to sour as they begin to not worry about our opinion about it anymore. That they're like, you know what? I'm going to go fool around. I think we should be open in our relationship. You're like, I'm stuck. I have no choice here. I'm dependent upon you.
Well,
paying
and to be clear, I'll also point out, Adele, it's also not normally the hotels that you've taken care of that suffer the most from these things. It's the ones that are in the middle tier, are, kind of hard to differentiate inside of a crowded market. Those are the ones that this hurts the most. Unique hotels with unique experiences will always have a way to not have this completely eviscerate them. But you know what? That's not the majority of this industry. The majority of this industry is select service, 100-room or less type hotel. That's what's in the cards. It's not these unique hotels. So, I will say when I generalize what this means to the industry, I mean the industry, not the niche of lifestyle and super luxury. They have an edge that they can take advantage of this. They can mess around with this and not have it mortally wound their capabilities to do business. But the hotel that is in the middle of the pack of another 100 hotels that are just like them inside of their destination, this is, and I'll give you the exact analogy of what this is. This is what Amazon did to the battery industry.
You know what? I've seen luxury, boutique, unique, independent hotels who decided that they were built to be and planned to be, the place with the best service and the coolest everything and and just landed squarely in the middle of their market on Tripadvisor. And I've seen small chain hotels, limited service, and be solidly, consistently on the top of their market.
Sure. In every market, there are
manager.
MVPs. There are MVPs in every market that work their angle and work what they can do. Those are exceptions, not the rule. And
But
the rule,
it should be less of an exception.
I actually want to give Adele a very direct compliment to this process. Okay, you've been driving the TripAdvisor car and winning races for years, better than anybody I know, flat out. Nobody has done it as good as you ever that I've known, ever. Okay, but you are an excellent driver. You can drive any car and win.
And Google, I can teach anybody how to drive, by the way.
That's the key element to this. TripAdvisor got you to where you are because you showed up the way you did on it. But what you teach and what you show and what you do, any car will win the race. And that's so, as much as you love TripAdvisor, and the TripAdvisor has its value. This isn't a bash TripAdvisor day thing. It's just the pragmatic reality. There's a time scale to what's going on. Right now, it's sweet. It's going to be bitter later. And just the pragmatic view of this. But to not take away from your adamancy about this, everything you're saying can be done, and how it's done is the way to do it. Whether it's on a TripAdvisor platform, Google platform, Expedia platform, any platform that allows dialogue and consumer culture, sentiment, value proposition in the operation of the hotel is a success. So with this, it is a tool and it's valuable now. But by all means, we are paying the devil to have a party as a rock star, and we're going to have to pay him back later when the contract comes due.
But
Yep.
you know, you can't blame TripAdvisor or Google or even
I
the
don't blame any of these.
doing what they can for
They
their
do exactly
what
what
but you need to take control of your own business
That's very
and
true.
do the right thing for your guests.
Yeah, I want to
And
be
they will
clear. We're
take
not
care of
saying
you.
they're evil or bad for what they're doing. They're doing exactly what we would do in their situation. It is
Oh,
a
I agree.
masterful strategy, but agendas aren't aligned. What they want to accomplish and what hotels want to accomplish are not congruent. And so we've got to recognize what's our agenda, what are our needs, and we need to mind our own house and make sure that we're focused on that, not on someone else's benefits.
Yeah, I would focus on what Dean had pointed out very early on in the discussion. The 95% of the people you are not communicating with are the people you want to make sure you communicate with. That we play this game for what it's worth to us right now, but we take on the same mentality they have. What's good for me? And to know how to, we did the same perception with OTAs. We use them when it's valuable. Being mad at OTAs is silly. It's a
foolish.
vehicle of opportunity. But
It
it's also
It's a vehicle of
lazy man's way
opportunity that is the safety net that most industries don't have.
Right.
I mean, let's
Yeah.
face it.
And to
Try
Lawrence,
to open
by the way,
Try to
TripAdvisor.
open a new hotel without
Yeah.
Expedia and Booking.com.
Yeah, we talk about them being drug dealers, right? It's kind of like alcohol. It's a drug that can have very positive things, but if it's misused and if you don't pay attention and check yourself every now and again, it can spiral out of control pretty quickly.
Yep.
And to Lauren's earlier point, TripAdvisor is not requiring last room availability on this. So
Right.
you do have the ability to control it. You just have to make sure that you do.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And again, it goes back to proper knowledge of looking at these things and using them in the methodology that they're intended. As we talk about OTAs, discoverability, education, they're valuable as hell in those levels of dialogue. But when it comes to acquisition conversion, you should be stepping up into that dialogue about that time and making
And I'll
sure
tell
there's
you,
value proposition.
there's something you can do right now to control things. You should be going, and whenever your next agreement is up with a bed bank, there now needs to be a TripAdvisor Plus term, and there needs to be a financial penalty for that bed bank providing this specific opportunity through TripAdvisor Plus or similar models.
Google
And it
Meta
needs to be
organic.
Directly or indirectly. Correct.
Yeah, directly or indirectly, because otherwise, I mean, understand why. The only reason I'm saying like you should be in this and take advantage of this is because if you don't, that's how they're going to do it, and you don't control as much, and it's much worse. But you need to be understanding how much of a dynamic shift this is. And I'm saying this now so that way, 2 years from now, when we're tired to death of every hotel obsessing over the problem that is TripAdvisor Plus, a la Airbnb, right? A la Priceline.
This is actually a real threat, though.
Well, this is a real threat. Like, just understand, this is an immediate thing that you need to start getting your head around. You need to understand it. You need to start planning on how are you going to make sure this doesn't overtake you, because it absolutely can. And how do you control this to where you pay what you got to pay, but you're not losing general opportunity because this exists?
There's another thing that you need to negotiate now, and I haven't yet seen any of the contracts. But if you remember, in the early days of Expedia and Booking, they allowed you to put in clauses that prohibited them from bidding on your brand. They don't do that anymore.
Good old days.
They don't do that anymore. But TripAdvisor's probably at that point where if you're big enough and you have enough weight, you're willing to commit. You can probably get them to agree to that.
Even if you're in a market that they're hungry enough to be in.
Yeah, if you don't, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have another competitor on every brand keyword on Google. Your cost per click is going to go up. So not only are you losing market share because they're going to be driving some, but your cost of acquisition for direct bookings is going to go up as well.
It's even worse than you think, though, because look at your organic results. Go ahead and Google your hotel name and then get past the paid part and look at the organic parts.
They're already right.
Usually shows up in those organic links because they have more and better content than you do for your own hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google's really got a racket going with whether the OTAs are advertising and then you're advertising against the OTAs and then it goes up and up and up. And no matter what it is, they're winning.
Don't get me beating on Tripadvisor as I think they're most people. Like, guys, Google's
the $100 gorilla.
Facebook, yeah, like they're next level. They're QAnon.
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to poke the tiger a little bit with Stuart on Airbnb. I got to give kudos to Airbnb's current advertising. Their gender exclusivities, their pet friendliness ads, and so forth are on categories of interest of people's travel that hotel brand is way off. Brand has nothing. I'm sorry. There's not a brand. I wish Stephanie was still here because she might make some defensive point about what brand might be doing. Brand,
they don't have the resources right now to invest in that stuff, right? They don't have the capital.
There's nothing that brand is doing right now that is an incentive to going to a brand hotel if you have that choice of travel. They're doing nothing. They're really, in my mind, have totally let down anybody that has a flag above them that they bought for.
Well, but Airbnb has a war chest. Their Q4 last year was better than the previous year.
It doesn't, you know, as well as all of us do, it doesn't take a lot of money in some ways to be marketing right now with the lack of competition.
When you're a gigantic organization, nothing is done cheap because you hire consultants to tell you that you won't be fired for doing this, and then you hire consultants to check those consultants' work. And by the time
you get all the other people that have to hire to do all the little stuff that the consultants don't do.
And their infrastructure is set up like there's trade-offs in this. Every decision you make has a trade-off. A majority of their decisions, and if you look at things like when they outlawed vanity sites, those decisions were made for a reason that make logical sense, right? They want more control. They don't want the Wild West. But it comes at a price. The price is they can't allow people the freedom to be more creative with advertising right now. So, you know, they've created the bed they've made, and they're going to have.
Well, that's it. That's what I'm saying is where I was going to applaud the fact that Airbnb, as behemoth as they may be appearing or whatever, and whatever war chest you say that they have, they're beginning to resonate with the granularity of interest that people are having in their travel process thoughts.
It's always been that thing. That their limitation has always been and always will be the amount of inventory they can provide before they lose.
Which is not a thought of a purchaser. Right.
Yeah, they'll lose their identity. If they embrace all homogenous hotels, then Airbnb loses what it is. And that's when a competitor will come in and eat them up. So they're balanced on this tightrope of trying to be true to the original vision and appeal to a certain segment of the consumer without going.
But I'm doing the same thing by advertising during a peak season period. I got no rooms to sell, but I'm not advertising to sell a room right now. I'm advertising because I'm the belle of the ball with attention at that moment. I got a bigger audience than I normally have, and I want you to put me in your items of consideration for other times that you would be traveling. Like, hey, you're looking at my market now. I have nothing to sell you, but you're interested in my market. Let me tell you about all the cool stuff we do that's not right now that you might want to come back and do. Or why I'm
if you have positive cash flow. You cannot do that if you don't have positive cash flow.
Well, if I'm busy in season, I got positive cash flow.
But right now, people don't have money in the bank. They're probably
nobody's busy in season right now.
It's no dry powder to invest. Airbnb has that. But if you're a Marriott, you're a Hilton, you're still concerned because your entire business model is decimated, and you've had to cut costs at every level of your organization.
I have brand hotels in markets right now for a variety of reasons. They're the interest, the belle of the ball right now. And we're exercising exactly what I just said. We're advertising awareness of our product, even though we do have rooms to sell because we're not full right now, but people are interested in that market right now. And so we're making sure we show up well.
You are, but you're making the exact opposite argument to what you made to Adele about 10 minutes ago. You can do that.
The same one different reason.
There's no magic sauce to it. It just requires smart people with deliberate effort.
And that's what I said. I'm always a champion of what Adele said. There's always an angle. There's always a path. I may not want to be on the road, but I'll cut a path through a field. You know, I'll find a way to get there.
Majority of hotels won't.
You're absolutely yes. Now that I've been consistent on. That's true. Most of them are lazy, as I mentioned about ownership.
Not necessarily lazy.
Why do this?
There's a variety of factors, right? There's decisions that people are making, and there's always trade-offs. Some of it's financially driven, some of it's skill set, experience driven, some of it's risk tolerance. There's a lot of reasons why people do or don't do things. But to say that because I do it, ergo everyone should do it.
No, I'm not saying that at all. Just saying that in justification of why you think Airbnb, because I like poking the tiger with you, in comparison to what others are doing, why I think that the Airbnb is doing successfully well with their targeting.
We agree with that. We're 100% in alignment.
See, it's all happy land. This has been a feisty conversation, which I appreciate. Thank you. And
It's
you're right.
fun
When Ed came in, we knew there was going to be an alternate conversation.
Yeah. But listen, I mean, I want to be clear. You should be doing something with this right now.
Like, you should be putting more time into your own assets.
If you're the right hotel. Look, the Ocano Lodge in downtown Omaha, no, don't.
But they're not going to be invited to do it anyway.
Right, but maybe if they had the right ratings, they could be. But you're not.
Wait. I'm going to call Stuart on what he calls me on that. I contradict him. That's true. You contradict yourself. You say, unless the block and tackle are completely done, we shouldn't invest in other things that you haven't already been doing.
No, I'm sorry, I never say that completely. I say the majority of your focus should be on the block and tackle. You should always leave room for experimentation.
Yep.
Okay.
And you should just think through, like, don't be fooled. Because every conversation I've heard about this so far, the thing everyone's focused on is the huge positive here is you get the contact information of the guest. That's what makes it so much better. And
you're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Like, you're falling for exactly what they hope you fall for, which is the reason they're willing to give this to you is they have this consumer to a level where they know any marketing you're going to do to them is going to drive them back to Tripadvisor to book through that path.
Yeah, unless, as you pointed out, you get something better.
As long as they're not paying commission, I'm fine.
That you are.
I'm not.
Lower cost.
10% discount.
I'm not, because I have those 10% offers out there anyway, and Expedia has 10% off offers.
But now you're talking about
And
like the Groupon marketing package that we just talked about. You're going to get them the one time, but you're not getting them the second time unless you do the same thing you did the first time.
Right.
And then that's what Ed's pointing out. It's like,
and that's
if I want to get them back the second
expensive.
time directly, I got to give them something better than they can get on what they've already paid.
You will never get them to book you unless you are not on TripAdvisor and somehow you got them and they're willing to book it, which I think early on you'll be able to get that. If TripAdvisor is successful on this, there will come a point where those consumers are completely walled off from anyone who's not in their ecosystem. And Amazon has proven this.
Mm-hmm.
But I may not be getting a lot of repeat business from some of these people anyway. If I'm the Four Seasons Resort in the Maldives,
agreed.
Right?
Dean,
that's it.
This is, again, all I'm saying is you should be doing this. You should be very aware and don't fall for the marketing of it. This is, and we've talked about this before. Remember, Expedia did a giant deal with a brand where they said, we're going to give you all the contact info. And I said to you, they're doing that because they know that this brand will not handle that correctly. Fast forward a year, it was exactly what I said. So understand, these organizations are not looking for your best interest. As long as you understand that, you can work within the reality they have to your benefit, but don't be blinded and fooled by some thought that they're at all interested in you beyond you being a piece of inventory. That's all you are to them.
Well, it's like it goes to the old adage, an enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine kind of thing. It's as long as you're in alignment at the time, you can collaborate. But when you're in misalignment, as you just pointed out, where it now benefits them more than it benefits you, you're not in alignment.
And you need to have a plan for what you're going to do when that time comes. Because that time, if TripAdvisor is successful, that time is coming. If they fail, you got amazingly lucky.
A free ride.
Because if they turn this off, then yes, that benefit of having all those names and email addresses, bam, you've got it, you're good. And quite honestly, we all should be hoping that this completely fails for TripAdvisor, because TripAdvisor is doing something the industry badly needs right now. It would be amazing if it failed in 12 months, because that would keep Expedia from ever trying it, but you would get this bump of opportunity that is really meaningful. So that's what you all should be rooting for, is that.
Well, nobody else right now has tried to bring all this together because people want convenience. The old strangely
Well,
enough,
not
the
a lot of
travel
people
agent,
are equipped to be able to do this,
Well,
right?
well,
Like
yeah, but exactly.
TripAdvisor
But
is
I mean,
uniquely
everybody,
equipped.
the reason why travel agents were successful and still are successful in a way is the ability to have somebody bring it all to you. Okay, while you're there, don't forget to do this. While you're there, you can do this. Oh, I can get you this discount to go there. I can get you a VIP here, whatever it is. Nobody's been able to bring the travel agent model, for lack of a better term, to a scale that everybody can tap into.
The
And that's
closest
kind of
one
what this
to
is
it
for.
is Booking.com because of their ownership of OpenTable.
Mhm.
Like they're the
That's
ones
about
who
the- yeah.
are on and honestly, with everything they were doing with taking over sites and booking engines and stuff like that, you could see they were trying to get there.
Yes.
Something's happened and it's never come to fruition for them. But TripAdvisor is the only other that has the right mix of consumer content, right? Like content that the consumer wants, that
Well,
they
well,
like. This can be.
I think Expedia could pull this off, and I think they probably will. If I was
Yeah.
a betting person, I'd say within 6 months we'll see a Expedia Plus.
Well, even
I
Dean
think
pointed
you'll-
out,
I
even
think you'll wait to
Facebook,
see.
they
I
got
They
think
into
you'll-
that
have
collaboration.
Expedia Plus. They have a member program already.
but it's
Yeah,
not
but I
paid.
think they'll rebrand it and roll it out as something directly to compete with this.
Yeah,
And as Dean pointed out, the Facebook TripAdvisor combo would be a really interesting.
That's a marriage
that
made
would be horrible for our industry, though.
Oh,
I know.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that seems like, wow, if you're talking in these terms, that's pretty interesting combo.
If I
I
can
wouldn't
save $200 of commission on a reservation, I don't care who sends it to me, as long as I can diminish my OTA.
At
spending.
any cost for the future.
No, but I'll deal with the future in the future.
She's a one marshmallow person.
And it's the exact mentality these companies have preyed off
They
for
are counting on it,
years. And the only reason I say it with this much passion is it drives me nuts. I feel like we are doing Groundhog Day here. Every major financial
It
crisis,
does.
this happens. They're welcomed with open arms.
Who
And
can we
then the
sell our soul to?
angst that comes years later when everyone realizes what they did it's comical to it's just comical how
Yeah.
we keep doing this.
Really, you should
But
be
we've got to
encouraging
save.
it.
You know what? It's two things. We have to save money now. So anything that helps us get off the OTA dependencies, it's money we need going into our own pockets. And yes, before, now, and in the future, all of those times are a good time to focus on your direct business and make sure that you're never giving better offers out there somewhere else.
Yep.
Like the experience I had the other day with the mobile only $10 off thing that caused me to call the hotel, and it took 24 hours to actually get them to say, of course, we'd much rather have you book direct. Okay, thank you.
And this works for somebody like Adele, because somebody like Adele, they will capture this guest and they will own this guest and they will do all that, contrary to what Ed is talking about. The problem is the majority of them aren't like Adele, right? The majority of them are what Ed's talking about.
And the problem with that majority is what eventually even forces the people like Adele to have to pay more for this.
Yeah.
Because that is where the problem comes in. Is this is step one of the same formula that has happened to us multiple times in this industry. Step one, it's time of need. We have a great idea that can help immediately. Let's make it super friendly and get everyone in on it. Step two is, okay, we're taking strong advantage of the mass. There are a unique few that we just can't deal with, but that's okay. We're going to continue scaling this. And then step three is you end up accepting this beating as a permanent fixture of your business, and it forever just kind of bleeds you. Step four is pull back a little bit from that because too many in the industry is getting mad. So we're going to build some value add around it. Let's now start shifting to offering other things. And that allows us to lower the commission cost because now you're investing in paid advertising on the platform and all this other, and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And that is how every major power has come to where they are in this industry since the internet. Like, it's every time.
Yeah, we sold our souls after 9/11. We sold our souls after the recession. Yeah. And then we're going to spend 10 years trying to get it all back again.
Yep.
So
And
I
you
feel like-
invested an insane amount of capital during the good times trying to fight back against it to only just end up in the same exact spot again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Virginia points out into the chat real quick, Dean, yes and no, we can convert some OTA to direct, but still see the weird OTA loyalist who gets that brand email with the best deal in the house. And
I agree with Virginia on that.
I do want to, because we definitely have had a lively 2 hours. With that in mind, I do want to thanks Robert for getting the list out he normally gets, but he was a little bit late to it. But he always has a boop that I want to be mindful of being the month that it is, that we want to pay tribute to the amazing women paving the way in the innovation in travel. He shared a great article about women that have been innovative in travel. I think Adele, eventually in time, your name is going to get thrown into that list for the impacts that you create for culture. And as Dean has pointed out so nicely, the fact that you will always be the person that fixes the problem about giving good guest service, not just for the purpose of a review, but for the purpose of it's the right thing to do. So I think eventually we'll see you on that. And also, as a reminder of the fact that there are a tremendous amount of dialogues about the disparity of women in travel. We've had this on the show, where there is an abnormally low amount of women beyond the supervisory or management levels, GMs maybe, and then it gets very rarefied air. We've had the pleasure of having guests on our show that have become owners, and that is very rarefied air for to have a female owner of a hotel. I think it's very, as we pointed out in that conversation, very underserved. We also have had other representations of those that run organizations like Claudia that are to empower women in the industry, to give them the resources that they might be denied simply because of a gender aspect to it, which is completely bad, for lack of a better word. So I want to make sure that we just, because it's the month and because we have this show every week, want to make sure that we don't miss this chance to talk about those things as well. Also, if you do want to know the full list from Robert, you can go to bit.ly/rockcheetah, all lowercase. And then you can subscribe and get this list each week that he puts out, which is a really cool list. We didn't touch any of it today because these were just two major things that just happened that you can't not do what we just did with them. So in that sense,
we ran out of time to talk about the kayak hotel.
I know.
Yeah, well, it's a hotel man.
Next
I think
week.
next week. Yeah, next
I'm
week
surprised it's kayak. I've been waiting for Expedia to do it, and I always figured Expedia would do it with the Hotel Penn in New York.
Right? I mean, God knows it was already a poster child for them.
They sell most of the inventory of the Hotel Penn. I always thought it was going to be Expedia to be the first one up. Beep.
Yeah, put a little stamp on it for sure.
Yeah.
As a mind to other one, we do have several podcasts in the room that we want to remind everybody of today. We'll hit Stuart's award-winning podcast, since he deserves the right of being
two-time
award-winning.
Two-time, because I think he's the only podcast that gets submitted, but that's just me thinking that.
Oh my!
No, I
can you breathe, Stuart, after getting kicked?
You don't take, Lauren.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, but no, for Fuel Travel, if you're not aware of the podcast, it truly is an absolutely awesome podcast. It's probably the most methodically content about what to do. One where mine tends to pontificate and try to expose you to shiny new objects and all this other stuff. Stuart goes nuts and bolts on a lot of stuff, mainly because he has brilliant people like Melissa.
And has amazing live performance jingles.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Just
that alone is worth listening to the podcast, getting the jingle going.
Yeah. So if you're actually not bored of listening to us ramble on about Tripadvisor, we're going to be recording an episode this afternoon focused on this very topic. So we'll be doing it Fueligan style. We'll be having some fun along the way, and we'll be talking about some tactical things you should be thinking about right now, as we have kind of alluded to in this conversation. Yeah. Fueltravel.com/podcast is where you can get that.
And Adele, I think you would ask me about whether or not the new one is loaded. I didn't see it, so I will go back and look and get it loaded up and so forth. But just for those that know, you do a podcast as well, Reputation Management.
Yes, Hospitality Reputation Management Podcast. You can go to my website, adelegutman.com, and get the links there and see the past episodes. And you can also, if you're a hotel that wants to get better reviews on Tripadvisor and learn how to earn your customer loyalty and trust and get more direct business and not be a slave to outside forces, you can sign up for a complimentary consultation, and I'll go through your reviews with you and give you a lot of insights and things you can do to make things better.
Hey, Adele, I heard that you jumped the shark and you've lowered the barrier to entry for your guests so low now that you've lost some credibility.
All right.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I mean, she invited me onto her show. So
Oh,
All of us are like,
You
Oh,
were such
like,
a,
what?
you're so great.
oh,
When
Adele,
that
you
goes-
didn't. Oh, that's
Yeah.
like going out on a Friday night, just going to any.
I think that was one of those
town
favorite
bar.
things.
the British are
Oh.
coming, the British are coming.
Feel sorry for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to film a special intro from my dog Baxter, who decided it was a great idea to bark throughout the entire thing. Sorry.
Oh,
He probably
I
makes way more
haven't
sense
asked
than
you
I
on the
did.
podcast yet. That's wow. Anyway, speaking of podcasts, and probably one coming up, because I'm sure Dean is too much about talking about Google Meta Search not to have a podcast.
I've got topics now.
Okay. But Dean, if people want to know more about what you do and their podcast that's probably going to be coming from all this and anything else, where's they can find you, sir?
Yeah, so actually a lot of exciting things that have come up now this past week, of course. So basecampmeta.com is a channel designed to help educate people about what is meta search and what do you do with it, of which I've got to go in and actually revamp a whole bunch of my content, because guess what? We've got all this new stuff now. So I was actually already producing a Meta 101 for 2021 was a new series I was developing, and I've got to go back and revamp about half of that content because we've got new stuff to talk about. But the other exciting part of that is over at metasearchmarketing.com, where we help you run your meta search. So if you need somebody to run your meta search program for you, I can help you with that. But also, if you are that small hotel that we showed the example of earlier, that, hey, you know what? I just need to get into that organic meta. Guess what? I can help you do that. It doesn't cost you any advertising dollars. Yes, there is a small monthly fee, but we'll give you a 30-day free trial so you can see what you should expect from it. Metasearchmarketing.com, check that out.
And not that you have a podcast because you just go in and jump on everybody else's and, show the other side of the coin on everything. But have you been able to talk about, other than what Flip2 normally does, are you now at liberty to talk about all the other stuff Flip does yet? Or is that just kind of...
We're still being kind of quiet about it, but it's getting bigger to the point where you're probably going to hear a lot about it. But Flip2 is a marketing platform for the hospitality industry specifically, and what we focus on is making the traveler journey for hotels, destinations, pretty much all lodging, attractions, a richer journey that more closely resembles the experience people have when they interact with you in person, all to drive higher effectiveness in your marketing. So I know that's quite a lot, and it's a little vague because some of the new stuff you'll start hearing about. But we have been doing some really exciting things. Stuart knows about it as well.
Can I just say, you remember before the Segway came out, how people were saying this is going to revolutionize humanity, right? And they really oversold it. I'm not going to do that with this, but some of the stuff they're working on is going to fundamentally change how hotels make transactions.
Yes, I completely agree, actually. And it's not an over-exaggeration when I say it either.
You're going to see a lot of copycats. You're going to see a lot of people trying to figure out how they did exactly what they did. But
and then we're all going to have to be nice to Ed and act like we're his best friend.
Because I'm actually doing it because I like to change the industry for the good. I kind of have always done that, which is why I get so strong opinioned against the companies like.
For those that don't believe that this is possible, remember back a little company called Easy Yield, which should have been EZ Yield, but it wouldn't have made sense. But Easy Yield created an entirely new product category in this industry that didn't exist before and solved a major problem. And I think what they're working on now is going to be equally as revolutionary.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We're quite excited. And you will see as this year goes on, we will start publicly talking about what we've been doing. But it's very exciting, and it's fundamentally changing how marketing works.
Wow.
Remember, I like my Maseratis in red. Just when you get to that whole friend redemption thing level. Just... Okay. As a reminder to everyone, there are several podcasts that we don't really get to talk about. Other than Adele's Reputation Management, which of course, and Dean's Meta Search, we also have Revenue Management with Lily Mockman, who wasn't with us today. Revenue Management podcast. We also have a sales podcast with Holly Zova. There's ours, a hospitality marketing one, which we do, and I do a little recap of our show, which is going to be really interesting dialogue as I go through it, try to synopsis everything that's going on. We also, for those that are not already familiar or already on the platform, Clubhouse, we do on Monday through Thursday at noon chat under the club Hospitality Marketing. And the room is called Hospitality Marketing, and then the topics are unique each day, according to, by consensus, everyone that's joined us as to what they would like to talk about next. Next week's Monday will be a continuation of a very lively dialogue about consumer sentiment reviews. Miss Adele, hint, nod, to join us. Where we're going through tools, semantics, and methodologies. Where more this past one on Thursday we were talking about. But anyway, then Tuesday will be about paid search marketing. I think it was the other one. And Wednesday and Thursday are still in question because we haven't asked the audience Monday, Tuesday yet what they want to.
I think we should talk about Star Wars. That would be my vote.
Oh, and you got yours. You got your club, Star Wars, which I joined.
I joined.
No,
There hasn't been a room yet.
Yeah.
No, I haven't created a room.
Right.
I don't want
I
to
would say for anyone who
watches
watches this show and wishes they had more points of views than the points of views we have, that's really what the Clubhouse rooms have been. I've actually quite enjoyed them. And I think to a bit of Stuart and Lauren's shock, I am more listening in those because I'm actually finding the points of view interesting because it's not just Lauren and Stuart.
It's not an echo chamber by any
right.
means.
It's been really high quality. And I've invited quite a few people to it because I actually think it's the best educational forum that I've seen in a long time.
It's a neat blend of podcast, one-way conversation to a two-way dialogue that you're not as potentially visually intimidated by having to be on screen with a camera or something like this, or engaged in just a chat that you have to figure out how to type. You can talk into it. The platform has its technical limitations. As
like if your phone rings while you're trying to talk,
phone rings, or you get lost in the calendar because they didn't put it in the list, or you get notified to death about everything you signed up with.
Little niggles. It's still great.
Yeah, but the dialogue, the fun. To your point, Thursday's dialogue about consumer sentiment review. Adele, honestly, I mean, when I pointed this out, there was some excellent dialogue.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bunch of
very
people
perspectives. It was really good.
I missed
it was a real solid conversation. And we've had other ones like that. And that's why I was missing you in it, because I thought, man, you really could add to that dialogue, because these people were in different little niches of stuff like, wow, if you just had a little bit broader perspective, aka Adele's, you would really have a different way of doing some of the stuff that you're doing already well. You could really amp your game. So, the conversations are really, really good. And it's a neat addition to what we're already doing between the podcasts, between this live show, which is the most consistent factor out of all of that so far. It's a nice extra flavor to it of conversation. And yeah, I mean, Stuart's been brilliant on being on there. Melissa's popped in. We've had some really cool Pete, Phil from his team, the Fueligans, and Ed's been in, Dean's been in, Adele, you're missing.
I am really trying. On Monday. I'm taking. I'm going to be away, and I'm going to be taking my mom to the doctor for something, and it's going to be just. It's going to be just before that, but maybe I'll try to carve out
just
half
even if
an
you
hour
get to listen, so that we can come back to some of the stuff. Because the cool part about it is we can have another conversation another time. It's not like
they're not recorded, right? They're very, in the moment, and so you can repeat conversations and get completely different dialogue.
Yeah, because you have people constantly flowing through the room and stuff. So anyway, for people who look for that, if you have the app, it's iOS right now. I'm sure the others going to come soon. But
can I just say too, I mentioned we're recording an episode today of our Pure Hotel Marketing podcast on Tripadvisor. Last week we recorded one on Clubhouse. So if you're confused about what it is or how you can use it or how you can sign up, any of that stuff, we're going to be publishing that on Monday. So on Monday on our feed will be episode 179. That will be the episode on Clubhouse. And we actually streamed it live. We recorded it live on Clubhouse. So we're trying to tweak the audio quality right now because it's a little wonky, but the content's really good, and we'll publish some show notes along with that. But if you don't know what Clubhouse is, check that out. If you need an invite to Clubhouse, I think all of us have some excess invites, so hit one of us up on LinkedIn. I'm Stuart Butler on LinkedIn. I think I've got 6 invites right now. So
and I got a few too, and you can find me there. And Dean, I know, and Stephanie actually in our audience still. She's one of the ones that's been kind of my mentor in Clubhouse. She tells me when I can't figure something out, like, oh, here, click that, do this. Yeah. So she's been instrumental in that as well. And thanks for for popping into us today, Steph, too. You're more than welcome to join us whenever as well. So with that, this show, as well, previous to 91, can be found on hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. Look for show 292. The show links and all the content that Robert shared with us in his newsletter is also there. So you can look at all the stuff we didn't get a chance to talk to about today. And also some of the links that we were dialoguing with here, Dean's and stuff like that, and Tripadvisor ones as well will be in there as well. So thank you, everyone, for your time today and the passive conversation that we had, the Kumbaya fest of total agreement,
love,
harmony.
Nothing but love.
Yeah, actually, truly it is. I mean, if anybody just joined us for the first time, you think that we're at odds with each other, but we truly, absolutely adore everything that everybody does
We
on
can
this.
disagree without being disagreeable.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes, people can do that.
Yes, we don't have to be polar about things. We just have to have our opinion. So anyway, without that, thank you everyone for joining us today. We look forward to having you join us on this show next Friday, 11:30 Eastern time. And we of course, simulcasting this Sydney and London time, Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. for both time zones next week. And until then, thank you, everyone. We'll see everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.